Hey guys, in this video we're going to be building the front-end mentor age calculator with validation. So if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Make sure to download the starter files in the description to follow up. So it's essentially an age calculator. So the way it works is that if I put in an invalid date like 32, it's going to flag an error, this invalid date, and if I try and calculate it, it's going to give me error here. So it has to be a valid date like 30, or let's just say first. If I put an invalid month like 13, for example, it's going to flag an error. So I'm going to put the first month. I think it should be day 7. Put the first month, and yeah, if I pick a year that is 2024, so 2023 and above, it is going to flag an error. You can see that error here. So if we pick something like 2001, calculate, you can see that it says that this person is 22, 3 months and 4 days old. That's how it works. So the funny thing about this thing is that although this kind of like this layout is responsive, that's one of the trickiest things. So if we go down to smaller device report, watch what happens. You see this guy just immediately shrunk, and if we check, we should be able to run it on super small screens and look at the way those inputs are shrinking. I'm going to teach you how to do that all in this video today. So without wasting any more further of our time, let's quickly get into the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, I told you to download the starter file. I'm going to open this with Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is what you will get, and let's get started immediately. So first of all, I'm going to start with a container. So give me a sec. I'm going to start with a container. Then inside this container, I'm going to have the input flex. So making that input is a bit tricky. So inside this input, all I'm going to have is the input dash container. Damn it. Container. Then we're going to have the span, and the span here is going to be day. Then inside here we're going to have an input type :number. We don't need to give it a name, and as for ID, we'll give it day because it's going to represent the day input. So inside there you can see that there's an error for the day input, so that's going to be a small tag with a class of error day. So we have gotten the first one done. I think we should open this with a live development server to view this in the browser. You see how that looks like, pretty ugly. And we cannot see our small tag yet. So what we want to do is that we want to duplicate this input container, and we want to do the rest for the month and the rest, the month and the year. So copy this, paste this, and we're going to call this month, error month. And we're going to change this to month as well. Month. Inside, okay, we want to paste this. We're going to write year, and error year. So the next thing I want to do is the before we do the output, what we have to do next is the submit button. So this button is quite tricky. I don't think it's inside any of the containers. So what we want to do is I want to put this button outside of this input flex class. So button, and the button is going to have an image to assets. Done. asset slash images slash icon arrow. This is how I'm going to have a class of submit btn. And after this, what we want to do is that we want to create the output div. So output, and the output div is to calculate the result from the calculations. So these are going to be a bunch of h1s. Copy, or let's do this in one go. So h1 span times 3. Oh, that's not how it works. Copy and paste 3 times. So each span is going to be different. I'm going to give this one a class of output year class. We're going to give this one a class of output month, and finally we're going to do this one a class of output day. So by default, these are just going to be dot dot slash. They're going to be empty by default. Then whatever we get here, we're not going to write years, months, and days. So I think like this, we should be done with the HTML. Okay, we'll remove this and this, and at the end we'll put a script tag source to script.js. But I'm not going to be doing the JavaScript right now, but what I am going to be doing is the CSS, because we cannot be doing the functionality when it doesn't look anything good as what it's supposed to look. So we're going to remove the attribution, link CSS style.css. Okay, now let's come here. Okay, this is what it looks like. Wait, there's an error. Our button is not closed. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. This is what it looks like. It's looking pretty horrible, but we'll try our best to make it look good. So let's come to the CSS. So the first thing that we want to do in the CSS is to, first of all, let's get the font. And you don't actually have to import it from Google Fonts. The font is inside the fonts file. And how do you access it and put it in your CSS? Is by using the font face property. So you say font dash family pop. And you could call this whatever you want. I'm just saying this is short for poppins. You could call this whatever you want. So we're going to say dot slash assets slash font slash poppins regular. And I'm going to give the body a font family of poppins. Pop. If I don't want this to be the body, we want this to be every single element, and put an important part. In case for the input now, for example, now that we will deliberately refuse that. So let's target the body. So the body, we want to give the body a display of flex, justify content of center, align items center. So this is all to center it. Mean height 100 view height. Boom. So it's centered. So the next thing I want to do is I want to target the container. And just for this thing, the body is not white. So what I want to do is I want to use something I've never done in a Frontend Mentor Challenge before. I want to use CSS variables. So I have been saying I'll do it in my mind, but I've not actually do. So CSS variables, they are not bad. So we define a root. So this root selector is like essentially how we can. The root selector, okay, let's read it. The root selector is like a global selector. Okay, it's like a global selector. That's the best way I'll define it. So the way to do variables is I just put 2 slashes and no spaces. Of course, you have to put a semicolon. So the ones that are blue are the variables, and I'll show you how to access them. So give me a second here. The initial stage might be a little bit okay. So we have those variables. Okay, let's put, so we have our variables. Let's come here and even add the purple and light red colors. Light red. Okay. And a sub to the channel will be amazing. I don't think is it double semicolon? Okay, I think it's single semicolon. The sub to the channel would be simply amazing. So the body is this off-white color. So background color. This is how we access it. Dash off-white. You see, it's quite convenient. It's quite convenient. So you want to give the container a background color of dash white. You want to give it a width of 420 pixels, and you want to give this a max width of 100%. This is max width, is what is going to make it to shrink when the width is more than when the width is more than 420 pixels. Let's make this 80% because we don't want it to be at the edges. Padding 30 pixels, and we're going to give this a position of relative because this button is positioned absolutely. So finally, to get that curve at the ending of it, that curve took me a lot of trial and error. It was border bottom right radius 150 pixels. Okay, we have that nice curve. So inputs. So what do we want to do on the inputs? We want to give them a width of 70 pixels. We want to give the input a width of 70 pixels, a padding of 10 pixels, a border radius of 5 pixels, a border of 2 pixel solid, and the border that we're going to give it, I think, is for this same off-white, var dash off-white. See, now it has that nice background color, but we also have to give it a border of none and an outline of none. These we're going to spend a lot of time on the CSS. So lastly, we want to say input colon focus, because I don't want this to be more than 30 minutes long. Border 2 pixel solid. I think the color is purple, so var dash purple. So when we focus on it, we have that purple color. So it appears to be a problem. So sorry, let's not say border none. After we define the border none. So nice. So we can focus on, let's not say border none. That would have been a massive problem for us. So our small tag, we're going to apply some stuff for our small tag. So for the small tag, let's just type in something so we see it. Something like an error or something. So our small tag, what do we want to do essentially? So our small tag, we want to give it a color of red, a font size of 0.6 rems, a font weight bold, and to capitalize it, we give it text transform capitalize. Looks good. So this submit btn, right? That's what we give it. So this one is a lot of styles here, so make sure you prepare for this one. 70 pixels width, a height of 70 pixels, a padding. The reason why we give it equal width and height is so that we can make a circle out of it. Padding of 20 pixels, a display of flex, a background color of var dash dash purple. So the reason why I give it display spec is to center this image along here, so I can give it justify content center, align items center. So we properly align the image inside of there. So what do we want to do now? Border none, border radius 50%. Okay, now we have that circle nature. One more thing that we need to do is that we need to take it out of the normal document flow, and we do that by giving it a position of absolute right 30 pixels, top 60 pixels. Okay, this is where it's supposed to be. So the output span, I know you are probably asking when do we align these guys. Don't worry, we'll get there. So the output span, we want to give it a font size of 2.75 rems, a color of purple, var our own purple, and a font style of italics. So what do we want to do on the submit button when we hover it? We just want to give it that background color. So submit dash btn, sorry, colon hover. So we just want to just say background color black, and I don't think we need to have any variable for that. Maybe a cursor pointer or something. So now I think we should start attacking the inputs. So input, or rather the input container. So input container, we want to give the input container a display of flex. So ought to be flexing. Input container display of flex. So let's come back here for a second. Okay, this is the input container, this individual input. I want to give it a flex direction of colon. That's what I want. And I want to give it a margin left 20 pixels and margin bottom 20 pixels. Now they are spaced in between themselves. So one more thing is that we have to now flex everything, and to flex everything I think is input display flex. Boom. So I've gotten that layout. So yeah, pretty happy. I'm pretty happy to see everything just come together after that layout. Pretty nice. So now let's attach that border bottom that was there. So border dash bottom 2 pixels solid, and I think it's that var off-white color again. Margin bottom 20 pixels. So the span inside of the input container, which is this guy, we might want to give them a font size of 12 pixels, but let's just leave that. So let's start working on the JavaScript. We're not done with the CSS per se, but we'll come back next time. So what's just left to do, I think, is just make it responsive. So we'll come back to that in a second. So the JavaScript is quite a lot. So actually, like over 100 lines. So I'm gonna try and make this as fast as I can. So first of all, we want to select the output elements. want to select the output element, which are essentially these guys. So we want to select them. So let's go. Constant output here is going to be equal to document.query selector output dash year, and remember it is here. So let's remove that sidebar, copy paste 3 times. This is going to be output month, output month. This is going to be output day, output day. One more thing, we want to select that submit button. So constant submit underscore button is going to be equal to document dot query selector Okay, now we have selected the output elements. Now let's select the input element. So we can just copy this, paste it, instead of output, right, input here. And remember, the input here is all these guys. The guys I will just give day, month, year. So that one's gonna be easiest for us to. So we'll just write something like input here. Remember, it's an ID. Input underscore day, hashtag day, input underscore month, and if you are thinking now we're done with selecting elements, think again. Yep, think again. Okay, now that I've selected the input elements, what we have to do now is to select the error elements. Yep. But the JavaScript logic is not super complicated before you run away. It's not super complicated, so don't run away. Don't let that scare you. So let's select the input, the error elements. So let's paste this here. It's gonna be error day. And remember, the error elements are here: error day, error month, error day. Sorry, error day, month, and year. So let me I don't know if you guys, what are your thoughts on me talking in my videos? If you think I should stop talking in my videos, I should just be super straight to the point, you guys should let me know. I'm just thinking about it. So what do you think? Does me talking in the videos help you guys a lot, or is just something that you don't really care about? So I think we're done with selecting the elements right now. I think we are done. Yep, we are definitely done. So one more thing is that we have to have a let is valid variable be equal to false, because at the beginning they have not typed in anything, and what they are typing is not valid. So now we're going to have a bunch of event listeners and input checks. So input day dot add event listener on input event. I'm not using on change. So when we receive input from that element, what do we want to do essentially? So let's remove this field is required. Okay, let's remove that. So what do we want to do? So first of all, we want to say if plus input day dot value. So plus is to convert it to a string. If input day dot value is greater than 31, remember there's no day above 31 days. There's nothing like a 32 day. it's greater than text, we want to say error.day.text content to equal must be a valid date. So let's see if this works. If you type 32, said must be a valid date. Nice. So what we want to do next is that we want to say is valid is false. It's valid because it's not valid. Then else, if they did type a date that is under 31, under 32 days, it is true. And finally, we want to say if plus input day dot value, if input day dot value is equal to 0, because 0, if I didn't type anything right now, the value of this input is 0, because we're converting that empty string to a number by using the plus at the beginning. So we want to say is valid is equal to false, and there's no 0 today anyway. So error day dot text content to equal this field is required, and we want to say is valid is equal to false again. So if I come here now, I don't type anything, I type 0, or I don't type anything at all, this error is still here. And one more thing that we have to do here is that we want to reset it when it is valid. So we want to reset this guy to be empty. So when they do type, they shouldn't be seeing any error, right? Okay. So let's test that over here. When they type, see, when they type 0, say this field is required. Oh, sorry, this should be, yeah, this field is required. Or when they don't type anything, when they type 32, we have a problem. Our if check for if the day is greater than 32 is not working again. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. At this point where they type rubbish or they type something, we want to return, we want to end the function here. So when they type something that is not, we always want to return. So 32 must be a valid date. Don't type anything, this field is required. And when they do type everything, it now goes away. So this return is very, very important, because if they type something that is not 32, it will end the function here, it will not run this. But if it's running this, we might have problems. So what we just want to do is I want to copy this, okay, not inside this, of course. If I want to copy this entire thing, this entire event listener, and wherever there's input day, wherever there's input day here, we want to change it to input underscore month. But the checks for the month are different. If the month is value is greater than 12, there's no month above 12, and if the month value is this, yes. But error day should be error month. Save. If we come to the month and we type 13, nope. Don't type anything, nope. So that validation is working. So let's come to the error input for. I told you that the JavaScript wasn't hard, just repetitive. So let's do this for the input month. Inputs. I hope I'm not too fast though. Error. Yeah. So the year value, if any year is greater than 2023, we don't want that. So let's go test it. If we type 2024, we don't type anything, it gives us error. But when we type something, it gives us, the error goes away. So I did the first one to kind of like show you what we're doing here. So that's why I purposely typed out the first one. So now that I duplicated it, you should have an idea of what we're doing. So first of all, now let's add an event listener to the submit button so that we can actually calculate the date. So submit button dot add event listener. Click, and when they click this, what we want to call calculate date. We want to call this function calculate date. So we want to check if it's valid. So if it's not valid, we'll just say error, alert error. That will let the user know that you type something that's not supposed to be. So for example, now it's going to alert error because all these values are empty. So if only when it's valid, that's when we want to run this. So what do we want to do? We want to say can't believe I typed var bet date be equal to. So we want to grab the user's bet date by doing something like this: input day dot value slash input month dot value. Oh no. Oh, let's keep on going. Input year dot value. So this has to be in a specific order, and I think the order is starts from month. So the month has to be first. Let's full screen it here. So what we want to do next, we can console.log the birth date just to see it. But then let's keep on going. So I want to say let bet day object be equal to new date of the birthday. Okay, then next what we want to do is that we want to subtract date.now from the birth date. So we're going to say let age diff, short for difference, be equal to date.now minus birthday object. So now let's extract some few. So this is going to give us in milliseconds. So let's write this in mil, aged mil. Then finally let age date be equal to new date of age difference. So we get the birthday, we turn it into a date, then we subtract date.now. You know date.now is a bunch of milliseconds from our birthday object, which is also is a bunch of milliseconds, and we have the age date. So we just have to just extract the month, the day, and the distance. So let age years be equal to age date dot get UTC full year minus 1970. Let age month, I will explain that 1970 in a moment, because the age date dot get UTC month, and let age day be equal to age date dot get UTC day minus 1. So what we just have to do is just display this. So output dot day dot text content to equal age day, output dot month dot text content to equal age month, and output dot year dot text content to equal age year. Save. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to write in 09, 15th 09 2005, we see says 17 6, and we have to fix the days. Okay, sorry, so this is supposed to be each days. So let's try this again. 09, sorry, 15th 09 2005. Okay, it's each day, not each days. Let's try this again. 15/09/2005, and we see that done correctly. So let's explain it. So first of all, we get the each day. That's birthday. That's easy. From the months, from the different inputs, that's easy. We get the birthday object from that by running new dates. That gives us a bunch of milliseconds. Now we get the difference. They don't now give us milliseconds. We minus it from this birthday object, which is a bunch of milliseconds. And now we call new date, which is a bunch of milliseconds as well. So now that I've got new date of the difference between now and when your birthday was, we just have to just get the full year, the full month, and this is where we're displaying it. So we just write something we're saying displaying everything. Now the biggest thing that you must be confused by is why the hell are we subtracting 1970? Because date.now shows the date.now is from January 1st 1970. So let me show you. Let's just remove 1970 and see what happens. If I type 09, if I type 15th 09, and this time I'm going to type 2008. So this should be about 15 years or 14, I think. This should be about 14 years. Watch what's happening. It gives us 1984. It shows how many years has passed since 1970. So to also now get the exact age, we have to minus 1970, and the actual age of this person will come out, which is 14. So that is the best explanation I can give there. So finally, let's make this responsive, because if we go down to mobile viewport, this is not responsive. So let's make that responsive. But the responsive part is a little bit tricky, so make sure you're prepared, but it's very easy. Just a few lines of CSS. So media maxed width, I want to say 768 pixels. And what do we want to do here? We want to say the input with 80%, and the input will start shrinking eventually. Output span, you want to give this font size of 1.75 rems. You know I've given it 2.75 before. And finally the submit button, what do we want to give it? Width 40 pixels, height 40 pixels, right 40%, and top 90 pixels. So that puts it there. Finally, just the image dot submit button image. The easiest way I found to do this is to just transform it, then give it a scale of 0.5. So that's perfectly scales the image down. So let's see if this is responsive. So if we go down to so it shrinks, everything shrinks nicely, and we can come here, right? 15/09, let's see, 10 years ago, which was 2013. Okay, so we can come here, click why does it say it's -1 day, dude? That's kind of weird. Do we really need to -1 day? We can type something like 15th 09 of 2013. Guess this person is 9 months and exactly 9 years and 6 months old. We could type today's date, which is 4th. Sorry, today's date is 12th, I think. Why today's month is 4. So this person should be exactly 10 years old and 2 days. Thanks for watching. This tutorial was a long one. I hope it's not more than 30 minutes, and I hope I've been able to show you how to build an age calculator. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.